one of the things that I learned from whistleblowers from the cabal itself is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Ultimately, the universe is intelligent, alive, and conscious, and it is benevolent. It is a benevolent consciousness. That consciousness does not allow the negative to succeed unless it is invited. So the cabal has made a science, a very elaborate science, out of studying these arcane, occult, magical principles that allow them to get away with what they do. So they have to put out everything that tells you who they are in music videos, in these Super Bowl halftime shows, the Grammy Awards ceremonies. They're out there showing you the truth. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic, and they are very, very
Virtual insanity. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of World at War, as tonight's episode is Virtual Insanity. Yes, it is. And don't I know about insanity? I am Dean Ryan here, coming at you for this late night. A little later than I expected, experiencing some difficulties on my end. Wouldn't expect anything less, some connectivities. So hopefully you can hear me, see me, and in some cases feel me, because it is the Santa Ana winds. It is blowing hard where I am, and just in the nick of time, the tic-tac-toe is in the skies. Yes, the chemtrails. Every time this happens, and so connectivity was a little challenging here tonight, but I'm holding my rabbit's tail. Hopefully this will go smoothly, and my blood pressure is suffering because of that. Okay, anyhow, let's get to it. Tonight is Virtual Insanity, as we're going to be talking about the new red lines, the new don't cross this line, we mean it, ceasefire, let's play chicken, and the downward spiral of the popularities out there. Yes, it's so true. We have so much going on, but yet so much stagnation. It feels like nothing is happening at all. Yet we're still feeling it at the pump. Are you feeling it at the pump out there? Are we pumping up the volume just a little more because of the Suez Canal? Excuse me, the Strait of Hormuz. I'm mixing up my canals, and that's deadly. Well, yeah, we're going to be talking about just that. Plus, we have Kash Patel, who is in the news again. He can't seem to get out of the news, but he is a lover, not a fighter. You're going to find out why. He's doing it all in the name of love. And can you blame him? Yes, you can. I think so. So we're going to be talking about that. We have Laura Loomer, who is looming into the just dog kennel once again. Unbelievable. She is. Yes, she is. She is major lawsuits underway, as she does also have the president, the American president's ear. I don't know why. If anything, you think you'd run the opposite way. So we have that to talk about. Another departure in the Trump administration. We're going to see who's leaving this time. Make sure you check your bingo cards. You could be the winner here tonight. We'll find out. Also, we're going to be inspecting the blockades, the game of blockades, not charades. We'll see who's winning and who's losing and who flinched and who didn't. And what was the decision to go to war? What was that based on? It's got to be more than blackmail, because that's just too, well, it's too passe at this point. So we'll see what that's all about. Also, we're going to peer into Ukraine. We're going to see how that drag queen's doing and running that country. The Mossad's favorite drag queen, that is. And plus, I have some good news for you out there about coffee for our Real Deal Health segment. And also, RFK is saying, hell no, he won't listen, he won't go. Yes, he's battling the CDC. And finally, there is a new supremacy taking over the world. Yes, there is. It's the red-headed ginger takeover. And I'm sad to say, in some cases, if you, they're feisty. I dated one once. They're very feisty. But there's a takeover, and I'm going to explain why towards the end of tonight, the ginger takeover. So anyways, we are broadcasting live over there on Rumble. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So good to see you. I actually emailed Rumble last night, for the umpteenth time in a row. I couldn't take it anymore, and I had to ask the AI bot, why am I being shadow banned still? Why am I at 2.71K still after 3 years? We'll see what they said. Maybe I might share that towards the end of tonight. Their email correspondence with me. So yes, we're on Rumble as well as Dean Ryan TV. It's good to see all of you who remembered that I'm still here on YouTube somehow. Thank you for being here. And I should say too, even if you're not on YouTube, but may have subscribed to it, YouTube ritualistically unsubscribes at least 7 viewers a month from me on average. So you may want to check if you're still subscribed to me. That might be fruitful, as I may just do a YouTube only show somewhere, maybe toward the end of the week, one of these days, very soon. Okay. So anyways, all right, let's get started with some headlines from around the world and in your neck of the bloody deep state woods, shall we? I think we shall. Well, there's a destination a little up the road from the habitations and the towns we know. Places we saw the lights turn low, jigsaw jazz in a jet fresh flow. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the kind of thinking that's going on with the supposed FBI director, Kash Patel. Yes, as he's at it again in the name of love, because he just wants to know what love is, but he wants a certain country singer to show him. Well, he loves his, not handler, his girlfriend. Let's get that straight. Got it? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, FBI is now said to have investigated a Times reporter after an article on Patel's girlfriend. Don't they know any better? Well, the Female Body Inspector Agency, as they used to call it, said it's not pursuing any case that they're aware of, but the scrutiny is an example of the Trump administration weighing whether to criminalize routine news gathering or to reward those who comply. Well, the FBI began investigating New York Times reporter last month, you might recall, after she wrote a scathing piece about Bureau Director Kash Patel using the FBI personnel to provide his girlfriend with government security and transportation to add, according to a person briefed on the matter who is also familiar with it as well. Now, agents interviewed the Dolly Parton-esque country artist from PragerU. Well, they interviewed the girlfriend as databases for the information on the reporter, Elizabeth Williamson, and recommended moving forward to determine whether Miss Williamson broke federal stalking laws. Can't do that. Only ask nice and polite questions. Yes. Well, those actions prompted concerns now among some Justice Department officials. Yes, just a few concerns. Never mind the American people and the public. No, don't ever think about that. Don't think twice. Well, continuing now as we further go into it. Now, the actions prompted concerns from people in the Justice Department officials who also saw the inquiry as retaliation for an article that Mr. Patel and his girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, fake name, did not like, who determined there was no legal basis to proceed with the investigation, according to a person, once again, who was briefed on the matter. Now, in response to the question from the Times this week, here's what the FBI had to say about it, and listen carefully. The FBI said, quote, while investigators were concerned about the aggressive reporting techniques crossed the lines of stalking, well, the FBI is not, wink, pursuing a case, at least on the books. Well, the scrutiny of Miss Williamson, the supposed Mossad handler of the hostage-in-chief himself of the FBI, Kash Patel, is just another example of the administration examining the criminalization of the routine news-gathering practices. Now, journalists are often caught up in criminal investigations as potential witnesses. However, this takes the cake. Yes, it does. And some even say it takes the matzo ball as well. Now, here's what, in closing, here's what others who are familiar and yet briefed on the matter are saying. Well, they're saying, quote, the FBI's attempt to criminalize the routine reporting is a blatant violation of Elizabeth's First Amendment rights and another attempt by the administration to prevent journalists from scrutinizing any of their actions. It's unconstitutional, it's wrong, and it's just plain rude. I think so. I think I agree with that. He's also, he's suing The Atlantic, the magazine, Kash Patel, as we shared with you the other day, for $250 million. These people are just ambulance chasers in practicing. Well, speaking of that, there's now Laura Loomer, speaking of ambulance chasers, as now Laura Loomer's back in the news too. Laura Loomer has just lost her defamation case to who? Bill Maher. Yes, the I Love Dog Food, but Don't Tell Anyone artist over there who has the ear of Trump is all the talk of the town now, as a major loss to her case is now making way. Well, that's right. Now the judge officially tossed Laura Loomer's defamation suit against Bill Maher right out the window and said, I toss you out if I could reach you as well. Well, the conservative activist alleged that Maher defamed her with a joke suggesting she had an affair with President Donald Trump. How dare you, she said. He's totally not my type. Well, I beg to differ. Well, now a federal judge over there in Florida has now dismissed a conservative, supposed neoconservative activist and friend of Israel, Laura Loomer's defamation lawsuit against comedian Bill Maher and HBO, ruling that his suggestion that she's having an affair with President Donald Trump was clearly a joke. Thy who protest too much. Well, yes, that's entirely true. The U.S. District Judge James Moody was in the mood to dismiss her case just this morning, that Loomer failed to prove she suffered any reputational harm or loss of income specifically based on the fact that she has a horrible reputation. Therefore, what loss can be had? He noted to himself, as a result of the comedian's joke about her on the HBO show. Whereas what he said about it, a reasonable real-time viewer would have understood Mr. Mayor and Marr was making a joke, not a statement of fact about the plaintiff in President Trump, Judge Moody said. Yes, it's beyond the pale for any judge to say that a woman can be accused of having sex with a man and have it brushed off as a joke just because she proclaimed a platonic love for their politics and leadership style, Loomer said. The ruling is totally dishonest, misogynistic, and dare I say, yes, that's right, anti-Semitic somewhere. That's what she had to say about it. So there it is. She is just a huge influential figure in the Oval Office, and these are the people we're having to hurdles over with. It's jump hurdles after hurdle. That's what's happening here. Moving on now, as we get to the bottom of it, well, there's now more sanctions on Iran. Yes, there is. Just when you thought there couldn't be any more sanctions to be had, any possible way, shape, or form, well, there is a way. Trump is finding it, and he needs it because the Epstein Files Part 2, it could drop, and God knows what's in that. Now, yes, more sanctions are now underway, as now the U.S. Treasury now imposes sanctions on 14 entities aiding Iranian weapons procurement. This is coming out of Natural News, and thank God for it now, as the U.S. Department of Treasury announced just that, as they're now going after companies as of yesterday, Tuesday, April 21st, for the involvement in helping Iran obtain weapons in violation of international sanctions. Now, the action was announced via post on the social media platform X by the department itself. The Treasury Secretary, Monsieur Scott Bessent, stated that the Iranian regime must be held accountable for its action, not us, not I, the Iranian regime, that is, must be held for its extortion of global energy markets and indiscriminate targeting of civilians with missiles and drones. The irony of that is giving me blood poisoning at this moment. I have to take that in, acid reflux. Well, the sanctions are part of a broader U.S. effort now. Many experts who are familiar and been briefed on the matter are saying, as the effort to imply, quote, maximum pressure this time, as we mean it this time, to weaken Iran's ability to generate and move funds and also garnish a lot of support around the world. They don't want that. The PR game's being lost. Well, now in this case, the scope of sanctions and targeted networks across multiple jurisdictions, including Iran. As you have to remember now, the jurisdiction of New York, well, it just goes globally across the world, as we know with Maduro, former president of Venezuela. Well, they just that. Here are some of the people who are being sanctioned. In addition to Iran, it's Turkey, United Arab Emirates, just for starters. Now, the networks are alleged to have facilitated procurement or transportation of weapons and critical components for Tehran's missile and drone programs. Now, the measures freeze any U.S. assets of the designated persons, prohibit all transactions with them. Now, the action coincides with the seizure of the Iranian-flagged cargo ship just the other day by the U.S. Navy in the Gulf after it attempted to breach the U.S. naval blockade. Yes, you may recall, this was shortly thereafter on Easter, where Trump said, please, you better open the canal, open that Strait of Hormuz, or else we're going to destroy your civilization. Once they did, he said, okay, now I can close it. Now it's my blockade. What kind of schizophrenic geopolitical foreign policy is this? I have to ask myself. I must ask myself. So there it is. It's just that kind of bipolar feeling. Even some say more than a feeling. What can I say? Well, now that brings us to our final story here in the headlines, as now we have another departure from the Trump administration. This just came down the pikeway not that long ago, as now a naval secretary is now leaving his position. That's right, Navy Secretary John Phelan is now leaving in the latest departure of another top defense leader. Yes, that's true. As the Mr. Phelan is leaving his job, the Pentagon abruptly announced earlier today as the first head of the military service to depart during Donald Trump's second term, but just the latest top defense leader to step down and or be ousted. That's right. Now, no reason was given for the unexpected departure, but of the Navy's top civilian official, coming as the Sea Service has imposed another blockade of the Iranian ports, as we shared with you earlier. Now, another Trump loyalist is taking over as acting head of the Navy. Undersecretary Mr. Hung Kao. That's Hung Kao. Yes, Hung Kao. He's a Hung Kao. Yes. A 25-year-old Navy combat veteran who ran unsuccessful campaigns for the U.S. Senate and House of Virginia, in case you're keeping score. Now, Fillon's departure, in closing, is the latest in the series of shakeups of top leadership at the Pentagon, coming just weeks after Defense Secretary Pete Megadeth fired the Army's top uniformed officer, General Randy George. Now, Megadeth also fired several other top generals, admirals, and defense leaders since taking the office last year. Yes, I mean, it's uncanny. Just when you learn how many officials have been fired by Pete Megadeth, it's crazy. I have the list somewhere. I might show it later. It's also worth noting, too, Mr. Fillon, who is now gone, was also a major Trump donor. Yeah, major Trump donor to Trump's campaign, and had founded the private investment firm Rugger Management LLC, according to his biography. His primary exposure to the military came from an advisory position held by the Spirit. Okay, so there you have it right there. There you have it. Now we have Mr. Hung, who is I guess he was just waiting for this opportunity, just hanging around. He's got it now. I mean, you wait long enough, you can get any position in the Trump administration. And that is some real deal headlines to me. Now let's get to some World War III news, as it is ever so changing and it burns, if you know what I mean. Let's get there, shall we? Well, World War III, let's talk about it. Let's have a grown-up decision about how we go forward with this. Well, let's do it, shall we? Well, now this is the latest on what's happening now, as the Trump blockade has completely collapsed as Iranian ghost ships bypass U.S. Navy during shaky ceasefire amid uneasy oil prices. That's absolutely correct now. Donald Trump's naval blockade over there at the Strait of Hormuz is unraveling after dozens of Iranian vessels secretly slipped past U.S. surveillance, who seemingly were sleeping on the job. Even as the regime tightened its grip on the critical oil passageway by attacking 3 tankers. Now, approximately 34 Iranian oil tankers have now slipped through the blockade, with 19 vessels exiting the Persian Gulf past Trump's Navy, and another 15 ships entering the Arabian Sea towards Iran. Yes, and I believe the military has had and seen record amounts of conscious, objective personnel who are getting out of the military. What is that exact term? The conscious objector. It'll come back to me. Yes, many people are leaving. Now, six of those tankers were smuggling Iranian crude oil, totaling 10.7 million barrels. Oh no, they're smuggling and trafficking oil out of the Strait of Hormuz? This is news to me. Now, the report follows Iran's seizure of 2 cargo ships on Wednesday, which comes after the firing and attack by the U.S. Navy. So Wednesday morning earlier today, the attacking of those vessels, and a third claiming the ships had failed to comply with the regime's demands. Now, Trump's announcement, and just the other day, Tuesday, he would extend the ceasefire, and this time he means it, by continuing the American naval blockade of the Iranian ports as a way of exerting pressure on the Islamic Republic, and also displaying extreme amounts of bipolar, dementia, and schizophrenia, too, on a world stage. Also, yes, noteworthy blackmail. Well, as reports of the Iranian gunfire on 3 container ships emerged, oil prices rose, with Brent crude futures up to $99.21. Yes, $99.21. Now, I'll have you know, as of last Wednesday, a week ago, when it was announced that there would be a deal, the war is off, the stock market shot up, I went on record I went on record and I said, by Monday, you watch, that's going to totally flip around. There's insider trading happening here. And let me go further. It's now been reported on. Barron Trump just scored a whopping $121 million just out of nowhere from his stocks. Nobody seems to know why. Now, Pete Megadeth was about to do the same, but he was so blatantly brazen about it, he got caught and decided to pull back at the last second. Now, this is about the fifth or sixth example of this happening. So you tell me what's going on here, because the American people don't like what they're seeing. So yeah, that's just it. The double speak, it's over, it's on, it doesn't make sense. The regime vowed to retaliate against the attacks. I mean, this is just tit for tat, but who are the aggressors here? Who are the aggressors here? We must ask ourselves. So as that's happening now, I can now also tell you this. Let me just go further on the Iranian oil tankers, as they were attacked by Iran. That's all you hear in the headlines, Well, that happened. Now, here's what it is. As of today, because of that, global prices have now settled above $101 of a barrel per barrel of oil, just at the end of today's market schedules. And the flare-up comes following President Donald Trump's unilateral announcement Tuesday of the indefinite ceasefire with Iran. So it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. People are getting rich off this. But I'm telling you, these people who are in power are playing with people's lives, and people don't like it. People do not like it one bit. Not one bit. Okay, continuing now. Well, what was the decision to go to war? A lot of people have asked, what was the decision here? Well, this, if a picture could say 1,000 words, have a look at that. That should tell you. That should tell you everything you need to know. Trump's decision for war. Let's get into just exactly what that was now. Well, here it is. Now here's the decision of a lifetime, as now Trump attributes the Iran war decision, not that he got pressured from Israel. No, he says the Iran war decision was because of Hamas, and he rejects the Israelis' pressure, as now new claims are now coming out. That's absolutely correct. Just the other day, Donald Trump stated that his decision to launch Operation Epic Fury, or Epic Embarrassment, depending who you ask, against Iran was prompted by the October 7th, 2023. October 7th. Can you believe that? So another, let's just, if we just play with what they're giving us, the decision to bring the United States to a full-fledged war, but don't call it a war, a legal war, with another country was based off a self-inflicted wound by another small, creepy, occupying country called Israel. Do we see what's happening here? Unbelievable. And how many servicemen are aware of this? You must ask yourself, how many servicemen are aware of the nature of why they are being deployed? So let me go further into this, because this is rather telling, I tell you, very telling of just exactly where we are as a country. Now, the Trump wrote, quote, Israel never talked me into the war with Iran. No. Let me just get ahead of that story. He further went on to say the results of October 7th added to my lifelong opinion that, all caps, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, this direct attribution counters claims that the war was initiated due to external pressure. Absolutely it was. In fact, Donald Trump's credibility is at a just all-time low. Why would we believe anything he says at this point? And it doesn't even mean what he's saying is opposite. It just means his credibility is as solid and steady as a pinball. So, which I guess makes him a pinball wizard in some states. Now, the president's statement follows weeks of the media speculation of the internal dissent regarding the origins of the conflict. Now, the Operation Epic Fury, which is just unbelievable, is really garnishing up a lot of opinions across the DC Beltway, the entire political spectrum, as the president's public explanation of the war's origins follows the resignation of Joe Kent, now as of today, the Mr. Phelan himself. Well, if you forgot, well, here's what Joe Kent said, just to refresh your memory. Well, Joe Kent, the former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, well, he said publicly when he resigned as a whistleblower, he said, quote, "It is clear that we started this war due to pressure now from Israel and its powerful American lobby." Yes, his departure highlighted internal government dissent and came amid growing public disapproval of the conflict as reflected in national polling. In fact, when some of the soldiers were asked just exactly if they were America first or Israel first, well, this is what they had to say. I think it's very telling. Have a look at this.
Excuse me, brother. America first or Israel first?
What's that?
America first or Israel first?
I'm not answering questions today.
Are you prepared to die for the state of Israel, sir? If they sent you tonight, are you prepared for that, bro?
I'm not answering questions.
You're not answering it? You're a tough guy, bro. You're strong, bro. Are you the commander? This guy, that's the young buck right here. So you ready to deploy?
Have a nice day.
That's all you got, bro?
Have a good day.
Bro, why are you making weird faces, bro?
I'm just smiling. I'm happy to be here.
Happy, bro? Put him on suicide watch, guys. Just kidding, guys. They were just joking, bro. Gentlemen, are you prepared to sacrifice it all for the state of Israel?
What is it, sir?
So are you prepared to sacrifice it all for the state of Israel?
I'm prepared right now to work right here today and have a great day.
See, this guy's got some spirit, you know? But you should be able to say, no, 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 I would only die for America. Isn't that your job?
I'm only worried about today and what I'm doing today.
Oh. Are they allowed to talk or only you?
It's up to them if they want it, if they choose to talk to you or not. It's their choice.
Just kidding, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Great work. Great work, guys.
Have a good day, sir.
What's your combined salary for the day? What's your combined salary for you 10 bums to sit here doing nothing?
We don't have to discuss this.
You guys are a bunch of bums, bro.
Wow. Wow. There we go. Trump's decision to go to war. And that's the kind of mentality that we're dealing with here. Just unbelievable stuff. Anyways, continuing and finishing with World War III kind of sentiment and news here tonight. Well, that brings us to this as we get out of here and talk about the new red line. Yes, finally, as the new red line, the new ceasefire date is now pending once again. Well, here's what we know thus far in closing of this segment. Well, a leading Iranian expert states that Iran's their red line for negotiations have fundamentally shifted, with Tehran now asserting military control over the Strait of Hormuz officially. Yes, before it was a bunch of rent-a-cops. No longer. No. Well, now, in addition to that, this is also what we're learning is that the U.S.-Iranian peace talks remain in limbo despite the ceasefire extension, with Iran refusing to negotiate under the ongoing U.S. naval blockade, which it terms an act of war. By Webster's definition, and virtually everybody who has studied war, past, present, and future, yes, that's absolutely correct. Now, also, tensions escalated as the Iranian Revolutionary Guard attacked the commercial vessels in the strait after retaliating after the U.S. just did that, signaling a dangerous new phase in the maritime confrontation. Also, the global energy markets are now reacting to the instability, with oil prices volatile and international warnings of prolonged and severe energy crises. And finally, the diplomatic efforts led by Pakistan are struggling to bridge the deep mistrust now between Washington and Tehran, with both sides publicly adhering to hardened positions. And that is the new red line for this World War III apparatus, don't you know? Okay, we have a quick break coming up on the other side here. And I really didn't get to a lot of people's comments the other day. A lot of people are filled and full of opinions, and I want to get to that in the second half here tonight. But when we get back, we're going to be getting into just an update about Ukraine. I feel that, Zelensky is a person too. He's a small person. He wears women's clothing, but he needs the attention. We're going to see what they're trying to do, because the word on the street is Russia's ready to attack Europe. Russia is ready to be done with this war with Ukraine. And they know that the paper tiger called the U.S. can't do a damn thing about it. And I'm going to tell you about the depleted munitions that we have. It's really stunning, staggering, and really shocking. So all that and a whole lot more with Real Deal Health after this quick message. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Well, now aliens are now in Mexico. No, not the illegal ones. They're all in L.A. Well, these ones are the real ones, they say, as now, quote, alien bodies with three-fingered hands. Unknown DNA and eggs inside are presented by the UFO experts of today at a Mexican Congress with non-human found in Peru, said to be about 1,000 years old. Still no word or statement from the Rolling Stones' Keith Richards on if it was him. Anyways, look at E.T. phone home here. Look at him. If you read his lips, the last thing he's saying is Elliot. Elliot. Yeah, there's the three prong fingers. You know what they say about aliens with long fingers, right? Anyways, here's E.T., who was just in a little basket on a bicycle earlier. He's now finally found the time to. He's taking a nap. And there's one of the guys. There's one of the cartel guys. They're doing a funeral for E.T. because he never got a proper one. Never did. So he's a non-human. Oh, speaking of non-humans, there's one too. His funeral's coming soon. So there you have it. Things to be excited and celebrate about. We have some non-human cousins and a big reunion. How great is that? A Facebook user asking if we could time travel, what year would you be floating to? You had to start.
I think so much of humanity has been so frustratingly stupid for so long. I would probably go back to about 100 million years ago just to check out some dinosaurs.
Sounds like the 80s to me, he said.
The government wants to put a red flag on you now. So.
Like literally? Like they wrap you in a flag?
I think so. I'm not supposed to mention guns on TV or on. They can red flag you for that, I think.
Yeah, in fact, I just red flagged you now just for saying that. See what happens? It's just automatically. I don't know what we have Angie who's saying, is it the GIMP mask? No, it's not. How dare you? I'm flagging you now. Okay, so you go deer hunting. You're dressed in you're wrapped in a red flag from the park rangers for your own good in case you get lost. Do you have to go early in the morning, like at 4 or 5 in the morning?
I'll have to double check that, but I think. And then
Larkin and myself will join you on your next excursion to go deer hunting. I'm sure he's very available for this.
Dressed in bright orange.
Yeah, he'll be in orange, you'll be in red, I'll be yellow. So it'll be like, we just had a blue and then a Indian and a construction worker. We're in business, you know. Okay. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Real Deal Media Night Owls. They're the reason for the season and the fact of the matter that I am still here with all of you. And, one of the benefits of becoming a member, a Night Owl, is I look at your news stories. You help me shape the world and showcase the news to it. And I thank you for that because I only have 2 eyes and I have 3 arms, and it's very difficult these days. It really is. There's a lot that goes into it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart and welcome everybody who wants to become one. You can help make this nightly show what it is. And by going to realdealmedia.tv, that's realdealmedia.tv, become a visionary debonair tonight. Yes. So thank you for that. And as you can see earlier, as you saw earlier, help keep World at War going by going to Give Send Go. That's givesendgo.com/World at War /World at War. Okay, that's how that one is. And yes, they live. Be careful out there. They live, and many of us sleep. But not tonight. Not tonight. Okay, let's get back to it. To World at War, the virtual insanity, because futures are made of it. That's what I'm hearing. All right, welcome back, everyone. I am still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond. And I sure love when we're cruising together. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there still, if you can believe it. But, isn't it something that we're now living in a time where, in a way, we're seeing what has always happened behind the scenes. We're now seeing it in front stage, like Kash Patel going after a news reporter. That's something that probably always happened in years past with other administrations, but this time it's front stage and center. And the difference is the vitriol of commenting, witnessing, observing, and making a remark about what's right in front of us is almost the detriment to ourselves. You might have heard just a girl the other day over there in Florida, which has really become the Tel Aviv in training. She made just another joke like Bill Maher about, God forbid, Netanyahu, and is now facing up to 5 years in prison. This is something else. In fact, to see the vitriolic nature of it, here's what took place in the White House press room just earlier today. And note how Kash Patel is very protective of his handler.
Can you explain the computer login issue? Just explain the computer login issue. You were not able to log into your lawsuit contends that you were not able to log into the system. What did you think after you were unable to log into the system?
Let's have a survey. How many of you people believe that's true? Hang on.
Did you communicate?
You asked the question. Let me answer it.
No. Did you communicate with anyone that you thought you were fired after you were unable to log into?
The problem with you and your report. Don't cut me off. You asked the question.
Straightforward question.
The problem with you and your baseless reporting is that is an absolute lie. It was never said. It never happened. And I will serve in this administration as long as the president and the attorney general want me to do so. And every time you guys report false lies, every time you guys raise baseless questions, when we are here to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center's $3 million decade-long scheme to fraudulently fleece Americans, you are off topic.
It's a simple, straightforward question. Did you talk to anybody about whether you thought you were fired?
The simple answer to your question is you are lying. And every time you do so, I've answered your question. It's simply as follows. I was never locked out of my systems. Anybody who says
your lawsuit says the opposite. Your lawsuit
anyone that says the opposite is lying. Thank you.
The lawsuit that you filed says that
Look,
directly.
man, stop. You're being extraordinarily rude. And I know maybe that's part of your profession, but please just stop. If you ask a question, he can answer it. And then wait, now you're interrupting me. Like just.
Oh my God. What he just said there, I remember hearing that throughout my entire career in elementary school. Class, if you don't quiet down, we're going to skip recess. I can wait all day. I have all the time in the world. And then the collective punishment. Who remembers that? I'll never forget that. Always hated the girl that said, what do we do when we're done with the homework early? It's like, shut up. You're going to give us more homework. Shut up, Kimberly. Yeah, her name. Anyways, flashbacks. So there's just another example of the vitriolic nature of the White House press room, which, I applied for that just like everyone else did. I stunningly did not get that press pass, did I? Anyways, let's now continue on with some Real Deal International. Let's get on the Concorde and really go all around the world. Real Deal International. Let's talk about it now, as Ukraine is now penetrating into Russian territory using drones to kill civilians in the process. Yes, it's coming out of Natural News, who's been really on the money, on the target, and really on the scene now, as the official narrative of Ukraine and its conflict often paints a picture of overwhelming Russian presence in Ukraine's defense and defensive heroism, where now they've upped the age of draft and conscription in Ukraine, upwards, I believe, of 60 years of age. So there's still a chance for me in case I want to join. Well, but a closer examination reveals a grimmer and more unsettling truth. People who've been briefed on the war have now said. Now, beneath the headlines of the intercepted missiles and strategic blunders, strikes, lies, brutal and intimate campaigns of slaughter being waged by both sides, one of that is eroding the last vestiges of humanity in modern combat. Wow. Did Mike hire Edgar Allan Poe to work at Natural News? That is one hell of a kind of a haiku poem there for a paragraph. Well, continuing now, a Ukrainian drone attack is now conducted on the apartment blocks over there in Russia's Samara region, which if you haven't been, it's lovely this time of year. Injuring now 12 people, including 2 children. The horrific progression of a drone warfare doctrine has already, according to UN monitors, killed nearly 400 civilians in frontline areas through deliberate up-close targeting. So just that right there. Okay, so here is the dangers. Now, the drone attacks now, the drone attacks that are being done by Ukraine at behest of the EU and the US, who are providing the weaponry. If the word on the street is, if there is a drone attack on Russia in St. Petersburg in an upcoming a expo, a huge conference of big military bigwigs from all around the world. If the word we're getting is, if there is any attack whatsoever in St. Petersburg, then Russia is taking their gloves off. They will attack Europe in the same manner that Iran attacked the Gulf states, all the Gulf countries who are just proxies of Israel, has their puppetry government in place, and in addition to the American bases, or formerly. So that's something to think about. But England is going to be in the firing way. Germany, definitely. Germany's a huge transporter of weapons for both conflicts in Israel and Ukraine. And they're going to pay a consequence. And I'm telling you, Vladimir Putin has all the cards. Not the U.S., not Israel by any means of any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so continuing here, but here's the key points to take away now. A new UN report now details the short-range drone attacks have killed 395 civilians and counting, and injured well over 2,635 between February 2022, the start of this conflict, if you recall, and all the way through April 2025, now with casualties reaching a record high April of last year. Now, the vast majority, 89% to be exact, of these casualties occurred in the Ukrainian-controlled territory from Russian attacks, but 11% occurred in Russian-occupied areas, now indicating both sides are employing these tactics against civilian populations. Now, UN officials now have stated that the real-time camera capabilities of these drones make the high civilian casualty count a likely violation of international law, suggesting international targeting in many cases, which, many people have been following, saying there's international law. Okay, it's broken. What are you going to do about it? They're not, what is this? Just you're going to get fined. You're going to get written up. Now, the recent Ukrainian strikes on residential buildings over there in the Syzran region over there in Russia has injured 12, mirrors this pattern of escalation, moving the drone war deeper into civilian heartlands. And finally, the form of warfare instills pervasive fear, cripples access to essential services, and disproportionately affects the most vulnerable, creating a humanitarian crisis beyond the battlefield. Ain't that the case? Yes. Now, and finally, here in our Real Deal International, well, you may remember this story, yes, from yesterday, last night to be exact, of President Milei over there in Argentina. You may recall a man who got so emotional when he went to go visit his favorite war criminals over there in Israel and touch his favorite wall. He was just unhinged with emotion and extremely, sadistic crying in this case. Well, I provided the pictures, but I didn't get the video until now. Now that was during the day. Now here's what took place during the dinner over there with his favorite war criminals. We have exclusive footage, and here's what took place just that evening. Don't you remember when you told me you love me, baby? Whew, man. Sweating to the Argentine oldies there. It's wonderful. What a showing that was. The sycophant. Now, just to add insult to some injuries here, just to show you what a sycophant, this gentleman here, President Milei, he has now offered Israel full access, no visas required, over 300,000 Israelis who can afford it, to come down to Argentina in the Pequelatonia province, build whatever you want. Although you burned it down, that's okay. And also, he offered them full welfare, government subsidies, perks, you name it. You got it. And I would call him a not just traitor, but a treasonous traitor. And the Argentine people better do something fast and do it right now, or they're going to be paying a hefty, hefty price like the Americans are. I'll tell you that. So I wanted to share that with you. Yes. Who does he think he is? Just performing like that. Anyways, let's get to some real deal health, and then we're going to get to your comments, questions, and concerns. But let's get to the good old doctor, shall we?
Paging Dr. Ryan.
Real deal health. Let's talk about it now, as there's a new war that's interpersonal and it's within, and it's RFK Jr., who's now fighting the Center of Deception Control. Yes, he's now making a bold statement saying he will not follow the Centers of Deception Control and the recommendations for the miracle jab schedule. Yes, he's now refusing orders. That's entirely correct now, as RFK Jr. is now refusing to guarantee he will follow the CDC director's miracle jab guidance, as if we followed it to begin with. And who just has that pamphlet floating around? Well, that's right. Kennedy has now refused to commit to following his own CDC nominee's miracle jab guidance. His tenure has been marked by clashes over the miracle jab policy, the advisory panel removals. Now, the previous CDC director was fired now after refusing to approve the miracle jab recommendations. Now, Republicans defended Kennedy by highlighting his focus on less controversial health topics like food dyes, which is just what we're all concerned about. Now, also, the conflict raises a fundamental question about who controls the U.S. public health policy. Well, clearly it's not RFK Jr., and clearly it's Rabbi Shmuley, I think, at this case. Now, the fundamental question just who controls things, health policy and all, has now been hanging in the air and hanging balance in the air, as during a Capitol Hill hearing this week. You might have seen it, where Bobby pointedly refused to promise he would follow the miracle jab recommendations of the very person Donald Trump wants to lead the CDC. So Trump's putting all these nefarious people into play after, he promised not to, surprise, surprise. Now, the exchange revealed the ongoing tension between Kennedy's long-held personal skepticism of miracle jabs and the operational needs of the nation's premier public health agency. It happened just the other day before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, where Kennedy faced his fourth round of congressional questioning in recent days, where there were some really rude Democrats. I must say, I don't understand that. Because, for me, I separate Bobby from what we're enduring here with the other part of the administration, because, we want Bobby to win here. We want the miracle jabs and everything that happened during that pandemic to be investigated, or at least stated publicly about the malfeasance, about the just the premeditated kill off, and the mucky fingers of Bill Gates, the doctor of the world, and how he was able to get his agenda, as clearly stated in the Epstein files, to literally mandate these miracle jabs on the entire world. That's the Pandora's box I would like to go in. And I'm not taking prisoners, and I'm not taking no for an answer. And that's why Roddy Piper had it correct when he said they live, and he is all out of chewing gum and he's ready to kick some ass. And that's how you have to be out there. Anyways, yes, we wish him well, Bobby Kennedy Jr. Now, our next story is something that now new studies are showing, and this is a real story. I kid you not. Gingers taking over the world. Yes, from Danny Bonaducci to Pippi Longstocking to, yes, even Ginger Spice herself, were just some of the previews and warnings that we have had in the past decades about a complete ginger redheaded takeover of the global population. Let me tell you a bit more about this. It is quite a confusing story, yet frightening at its core. Well, that's right. The world is now bracing itself as now scientists are beginning to speak, the ones who are still alive, that is, as the world is going ginger, as humans are evolving into redheads for one reason, say scientists. That's absolutely correct now. Redheads have thicker hair, more sex, and DNA analysis says humans are evolving quickly, and the hair color has traditionally been associated with strength. They forgot to say feisty. Hello? Feisty? Anyone? No? Okay. And well, anyways, the world is going ginger as humans are still evolving into redheads, according to boffins. Well, a new study found that a number of folk with flame-colored hair is growing. Until now, many scientists believed humans had made a little evolutionary progress over the past 10,000 years. But new DNA analysis of 15,836 ancient humans remains by researchers at Harvard University have now suggested folks are not only evolving at a pace, but turning into gingers while they're at it. Or as they called it in the article, ginger nuts. Now, the study published over there in the scientific journal Nature said, quote, perhaps having red hair was beneficial 4,000 years ago, or perhaps it came along for the ride with a more important trait. Now, though the report teased redheads may not think it, the hair color has traditionally been associated with strength. So if you have red hair out there, consider yourself historically strong. Now, in Hawaiian Polynesians culture, red hair is thought to be descendants of fire gods. Yes, in fact, when Lindsay Lohan goes to Hawaii, she's worshipped to the core. Yes, remember her? I do too. Well, a study found redheads are even more sensitive to hot and cold temperatures. Yes, very fussy with what you're doing with the air conditioning and the thermometer. Now, a strand of red hair is generally thicker than other shades. But redheads have less hair, averaging around 90,000 strands compared to blondes, who have 110,000 strands. And yes, even brunettes, who have 140,000 strands. Now, they produce more vitamin D in a shorter amount of time than people with other hair follicles. Now, while a 2022 study found redheaded women are more sexually active, have greater desires, and a larger number of partners than others, they have sex at least one more time per week than the rest of the population who don't have red hair. So are you seeing a trend here of red-headed supremacy? I think you are. Now, gingers are also more popular in advertising. Analysis have now also shown 30% of TV commercials running during primetime features a redhead. For example, you might have heard of the singer Ed Sheeran describe his ginger hair as, quote, a superpower that had helped his music career for a long time. Even the artist formerly known as Prince Harry, he embraced his red hair, joking that, quote, ginger gene is a strong one. I'll tell you. Now, it's also kind of in closing, it's also said that the new study also involved more than 250 archaeologists and anthropologists building a database of DNA gathered from over 10,000 ancient burials across Europe and Asia, which was predominantly just driven by the fact they wanted to know about gingers. That information was combined with the genomic sequences of a further 5,820 ancient people and 6,400, that is, modern humans of today. So there you have it. I mean, I remember the old term treated like the redheaded stepchild. Well, I guess redheads should be very proud of their ginger heritage and their strength, shouldn't they? I think so. And, well, no mystery at all. But finally, I'll just, in brief, if you are worried about coffee out there, Natural News says the moderate coffee consumption is now finally concluded to bring you longevity in your life. So if you're listening to this, watching this out there, no matter what time of day, go get yourself a cup of coffee. And if you have red hair, make sure you put some ginger spice in that coffee. Okay, let's see what people are saying out there in the world. What a hell of a story to end on. Okay, does that make is the red heifer, is that a natural redhead? Is he ginger? I wonder. Okay, here we have Madeline who says moderate coffee. Yes. Here we have Rage Against the Machine, who is now looking for gingers over there in Hawaii. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. Here are some other things. We have the Watchman over there on YouTube who says Gilligan must have been keeping busy. Yes. Are you talking about the movie star? I'll tell you, in full transparency, I always thought Marianne was the more alluring type for me. Just a little confession there. Okay, here's another one. We have Dave over there on Rumble who says, my chat broke. I blame gingers. Now, see, Dave, this is where things get scary. You don't want to be anti-ginger sentiment here. That could be, we don't want to blame them. Okay, here we have Rage Against the Machine again. All out about bubblegum. Yes, they are. I heard they're making a remake of They Live. That's frightening. And Will Smith's son better not star in it, I'll tell you. Here's another one. We have Rebel Mama over there on Rumble saying the following. Doctor spilled the beans on Fauci and friends yesterday. He was a Trump representative and they shut him out. I'd like to hear more about that. Thank you. Yes, I do. And here is another one here. Truth is, if China and Russia are both, they both go kinetic with the U.S., everything flies over Canadian airspace. Carney would sell our airspace by the hour. Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably give some free lap dances too while he's at it. Very good observation. And finally, here is Skip saying, Dean, this is why I love your show. Those comments are epic. Yes, we have incredible viewers who comment here. We're all very like-minded, I must say. I enjoy it myself. So anyways, it's now time for that moment. Yeah, you guessed it. It's time for final thoughts. Brought to you by Realtail Media's Realtail.com. keep it going. It's moving. Thank you. Thank you, John Tesh. It is so good to have you. Final thought here as we finish the virtual insanity episode, as it is virtual insanity. They used to say, you know a man's reputation by his words, but you know a man's character by his actions, and you know a man's true character integrity by his enemies. Well, if you apply that to the characters at hand, I think that should tell you the answer that you're looking for. Yes. Because at the end of the day, the virtual insanity is out of control. We were worried about measles and the lockdown in UK. We were worried about that coming back to California. Prior to that, we were worried about disease X. Now we're worried about whether we have a competent or incompetent dementia-ridden president who's willing to drop the H-bomb and the F-bomb too on innocent people, or whether this was the plan the whole time. Well, a lot of people are now apologizing, Tucker Carlson being one of them, for voting for Donald Trump and everything that has come with it. But, I can't blame people, because every president, let's just say in the last 25 years, has lied and frauded their own constituents. In fact, if you recall, George W. Bush, before he was elected, said he wasn't going to be doing any form of nation building. Obama said he would follow the Constitution and do no more wars in the Middle East. Biden, well, we're not sure what, he spilled applesauce on himself, and that's all you had to know. And then we had Trump, of course. So rather than do the I told you so game that it doesn't get anyone anywhere, we should build our coalition and galvanize together for what's to come, and applaud those who can step away from the madness and step away from the virtual insanity. And that's my final thought. And, divisiveness no more. That's how I see it. Anyways, little quick show notes. Tomorrow night is Thursday. It's our college night here at Real Deal Media. I'll be doing Real Deal Media live, RDM live. Don't want to miss that. We're going to have some special guests. I believe Neil Bishop will be joining me, and we're going to do a wonderful segment of the men's tomorrow night. You don't want to miss that at 10 p.m. Eastern with some special guests. Should be a real hoot. If you want to email me, feel free to do so. info@realdealmedia.tv, info@realdealmedia.tv. We'll have an intern get to that as soon as possible. And that's how that one goes. And also a big thank you to everyone who's helped keep the dream alive at givesendgo.com/world-at-war. Okay, on that note, I'll be out of here, and I'll see everyone tomorrow night. And meanwhile, thanks for sharing a bit of your late night with all of us here. It is a pleasure. It's an honor, as always. So until next time, I'm Dean Ryan, remembering to tell you to stay tuned and always remember to stay awake. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Spend days window shopping, not knowing what you want to take home. Then you find yourself table hopping, not knowing where your heart will go. I don't mind not being as far as I can tell. I don't mind not going to heaven, as long as they got cigarettes, as long as they got cigarettes in They got cigarettes in